morning, everyone. It's Thursday, December 17th, coming to you live from Seoul. I'm Kim Dami, filling in for Kim Mo-gyun. Before we get started, these are the stories following at the top of the hour. Yet another day of seeing more than 1,000 new COVID-19 cases here in South Korea. And the government is contemplating heightening social distancing to level 3. South Korea's very own Lotus Lantern Festival is now listed as a UNESCO intangible cultural heritage. It's the country's 21st cultural heritage to be recognized by the global organization. The UN passes a North Korean human rights resolution for the 16th consecutive year. Pyongyang reacted strongly by calling the move cooked up political slander. We begin with the COVID-19 situation here in South Korea. The country reported 1,014 new cases this morning. That's 64 fewer cases than yesterday, but it's the second day in a row that the nation has seen more than 1,000 new infections. In fact, Seoul City confirmed a record high of 423 new cases on Wednesday alone. With 22 more deaths, the death toll now stands at 634. Following the rapid uptick in COVID-19 cases here in the country, the government is considering raising the social distancing to level 3. But it's still cautious about imposing the very last option over economic damage concerns. Our Kim Yo-sun reports.
As South Korea has been witnessing record-high COVID-19 daily tallies lately, the government is reportedly mulling over raising social distancing regulations to the highest level. However, as level 3 will come with a significant social and economic impact, the government is combing through the detailed guidelines and listening to the advice of numerous experts.
The government is gathering opinions from related experts, including those from the central and local governments, as well as the Life Quarantine Committee. It's contemplating the need to raise distancing guidelines.
Under level 3, large retail shops and beauty salons will have to shut, while only pharmacies and small grocery stores that sell household essentials will be allowed to stay open. The government, however, is now revisiting its guidelines amid increasing calls to close ski resorts and to ban dining in and restaurants.
We are taking into consideration the detailed opinions gathered by relevant ministries on each industry.
With this, quarantine authorities are also discussing ways to revise guidelines to further curb transmissions that have been spreading by coming into contact with previously confirmed cases. While a higher proportion of confirmed cases were related to cluster infections 3 weeks ago, now contact with COVID-19 patients account for 43% of new cases. It remains to be seen whether the government can lay out specific and effective quarantine guidelines that can help contain the spread. But it's also keenly aware that these measures will yield no results if the general public doesn't abide by them. Kim Yo-sun, Arirang News.
The EU's 27 member nations all aim to start COVID-19 vaccinations on the same day, a move designed to symbolize unity. This comes amid mounting pressure on Europe to speed up its vaccination programs, with the UK and US rollout already underway. Our Choi-min reports.
The member countries of the European Union are very likely to start COVID-19 vaccinations on the same day, possibly a day or two before Christmas. In a sign of unity, European Commission Chief Ursula von der Leyen on Wednesday told the Parliament that all 27 member states of the EU will be able to begin vaccinations on the same day, once the green light is given for Pfizer and BioNTech's vaccine. Von der Leyen also stressed the need for unity in her tweet, reassuring that the EU will get out of the pandemic together and united, as they have been united through the pandemic. The coordinated rollout comes amid mounting pressure to catch up with Britain and the US, which have already started their mass vaccination programs. The chief also hinted that the first vaccine from Pfizer and BioNTech could be rolled out before Christmas. According to von der Leyen, the vaccine will be authorized in less than a week and immediately be ready to inoculate the population. The European Medicines Agency is set to discuss conditional approval for the vaccine next Monday. Meanwhile, the EU has already secured more than enough doses for the entire population in Europe and is confident that more vaccines will be available early next year. Choi-min, Arirang News.
A healthcare worker in Alaska suffered a serious allergic reaction after receiving Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine shot on Tuesday local time. She had an anaphylactic reaction, including flushing and a shortness of breath, which started 10 minutes after getting the shot, and she's currently under close observation in hospital. Concerns over the new COVID-19 vaccine have snowballed as the latest case marks the third person to have an allergic reaction to the vaccine. Pfizer spokesperson said that they're currently working with local health authorities to work out the details of the case. The Lotus Lantern Festival, a 1,000-year-old festival held here by South Koreans, has been listed as one of UNESCO's intangible cultural heritage. Our Kim Hyun-sung reports.
The South Korean government announced Wednesday that South Korea's annual Springtime Lotus Lantern Festival has been listed as a UNESCO intangible cultural heritage.
I will do my best to uphold and preserve the lantern event. I will make it into a dear cultural heritage that is loved by people all over the world, regardless of their religions.
The Lotus Lantern Festival is a long-standing Korean tradition that dates all the way back to the 9th century. People in South Korea put on parades of lotus lanterns and decorate streets with brightly lit lanterns every April 8th on the lunar calendar to celebrate the birth of Buddha. The lanterns themselves symbolize lighting up the world with wisdom. UNESCO doesn't usually list exclusive religious events as one of its intangible heritages, but they made the exception for the Lotus Lantern Festival despite it being a Buddhist ceremony, because the event transcends religion. It upholds the message of harmony and unity. During the festival, it's customary to look out for children and the disabled and let them have front row seats at the parade so that they can enjoy the ceremony just as much as everyone else.
The festival received high praise from the organization and that its operation was considerate of the weak and that it valued restraint.
Also, during the tragic year of 2014, when the nation saw the Seoul ferry sink along with more than 300 lives, the festival turned itself into a memorial service and grieved alongside the people. The Lotus Lantern event now marks the 21st South Korean cultural heritage to be listed as one of UNESCO's cultural heritages. Kim Hyun-sung, Arirang News.
The UN General Assembly has once again adopted a resolution calling for rapid improvements in North Korea so ordinary people there can live a relatively normal life free from the fear, imprisonment, and torture. Our Lee Seung-jae reports.
On Wednesday, the UN General Assembly adopted a resolution calling for improvements to human rights conditions in North Korea. The Assembly had issued the resolution for 16 consecutive years, annually since 2005. The UN again condemned the regime in the strongest terms for the systematic, widespread, and gross violations of human rights by North Korean authorities. The resolution also expressed very serious concern about the persistent reports of torture and sexual and gender-based violence. The resolution on North Korea's human rights violations came nearly a month after the Third Committee of the UN General Assembly passed it with unanimous consent. South Korea decided not to co-sponsor the resolution amid its efforts to resume inter-Korean dialogue. It marks the second time Seoul has refrained from taking part. After the passage of the resolution last month, Kim Sung, the head of the North's diplomatic mission to the UN, strongly denounced it, calling the move cooked-up political slander. Kim also warned the resolution would constitute a hostile policy aimed at overthrowing the North system. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
As widely expected, the U.S. Federal Reserve has decided to keep its benchmark interest rate unchanged near zero following a two-day policy meeting. Keeping its rates anchored between 0 to a quarter percentage point, the Fed also explained in a statement that it will keep buying government bonds until the economy makes, quote, substantial progress. The U.S. Central Bank has kept its key rate unchanged since March, when it took a range of extraordinary steps to fight the economic recession stemming from the COVID-19 pandemic by keeping credit flowing. The UK and EU are still struggling to agree to a post-Brexit trade deal with just a few weeks left before the Brexit transition period ends. They have made some progress but reached no breakthrough. Our Lee Kyung-in has the latest.
Following days of intensive talks in Brussels between the UK and the EU President Ursula von der Leyen said talks were still very difficult. But she said the good news is that the two sides have managed to move forward on most issues, which could potentially lead to a last-minute agreement.
That there is a path to an agreement now. The path may be very narrow, but it is there. And it is therefore our responsibility to continue trying.
She said one of the two key obstacles has been largely resolved, the issue over a level playing field. The EU has been trying to ensure that the UK follows Brussels' fair competition regulations after it leaves the bloc's single market. However, the two sides are still deeply divided over EU's fishing rights in UK waters. The EU says the next few days will be decisive, where there are only 2 weeks until the Brexit transition period ends. In the meantime, there was some hesitancy over concessions from the UK. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson said the EU should, quote, see sense and recognize UK sovereignty.
And all that takes is for them to understand that the UK has a natural right, like every other country, to want to be able to control its own laws and its own fishing grounds, which ought to be important, I thought.
Negotiations have carried on, exceeding the previous deadline of last Sunday. If a no deal is agreed by the end of the year, when the Brexit transition ends, trade between the EU and the UK will revert to World Trade Organization rules. That means tariffs and quotas will also return, something that both sides worry could potentially disrupt the market. Lee Kyung-in, Arirang News.
Tottenham's Hotspur star striker Heung-min has picked up the 11th goal of the season in the English Premier League. In a game against Liverpool on Wednesday, Son leveled in the 33rd minute after Liverpool had taken the lead through Mohamed Salah. Son's latest strike marks his 99th goal for Spurs. And the South Korean forward is now the joint top scorer in the league alongside Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Mohamed Salah. Tottenham Hotspur now sit in the second place in the English top flight as Liverpool defeated the team by 2-1 at Anfield.
Good morning. It's another freezing start, 4 consecutive days with unbearably cold morning temperatures and cold wave alerts, so bundle up on your way out. Meanwhile, a heavy snow advisory on the west coast near Jeollado and Dokdo, Ulleungdo has been lifted. But those of us in the central regions will start to get affected by some snowfall starting tonight. The capital regions could receive 2 to 7 centimeters of snowfall overnight. Until then, the skies will remain mostly sunny with dry weather alerts remaining in place here in the capital and surrounding regions, as well as the East Coast. Be careful with anything that could start a fire. Daily highs will go up 3 to 4 degrees higher across the country. Seoul, though, still remaining in negative territory at -1 degree, with Gwangju and Daegu topping out at 4 degrees Celsius. Now, bitterly cold temperatures will take a break on Friday, but this severe cold snap will make a short comeback this weekend. That's Korea for you, and here's a look at the weather conditions around the world.
That's a wrap for us at this hour. We'll be back with more of the day's headlines at noon Korea time. Thanks for watching and goodbye.